Classical studies is the study of ancient Greek and Roman language, literature, history, and culture. In classical studies, students examine every aspect of the ancient world, but in particular we focus on the languages. It's a very intensive language study. In a lot of my majors in which you study language, you focus on one language. Classics majors do both ancient Greek and Latin, and you actually pick these up at a pretty fast speed. You go from learning the Greek alphabet to 3 semesters later you're reading Homer in Greek. The one difference is that we focus mostly on reading the languages, not on speaking them. We use these ancient languages, ancient Greek and Latin, as a window into the past. It's how we get into the ancient world, is through reading the writings of people like Homer, Virgil, Plato, Cicero, and the like. In classical studies, we have 4 tracks that you can do. One, if you're just a plain classics major, then you study both Greek and Latin. Or you can emphasize in just Greek or just Latin. And then we also have a classical civilization major in which you pick one of those languages, but you have a higher ratio of history and culture classes compared to the language classes. All of them get you to basically the same place where you become an expert in the languages of the ancient world, and you use those languages to access and understand Greek and Roman culture. There's a wide variety of careers that classical studies majors can enter. There's actually quite a high demand for humanities majors generally in business and in the tech sphere because of the analytical skills and critical thinking and language skills that classics majors gain. A more obvious career path would be to go into academia. Classics is an excellent preparation for any type of grad school that you would go to. Classics majors traditionally score very well on the GRE. We have a number of students who go on to study classics in graduate school so they can become professors of classics. And we have really good placement schools like University of Chicago, UNC Chapel Hill, and Cambridge. Besides that, it's also good preparation for doing a library studies master, going into archaeology, museum and curatorial studies. This can be a good preparation for that. We have a number of majors who study classics in order to prepare for law school and medical school. A lot of the language used in both law and in medicine is based on Latin and Greek. And classics majors score very well. They're in some of the highest percentiles for both the LSAT and the MCAT. Plus you get, in the classics major, the origins of forensic speaking with Cicero and Quintilian and the like, and you have the origins of medicine in the Western tradition. And so there's besides just the languages, there's also connections that could be made for law school and medical school. As a classical studies major, you develop excellent analytical and language skills. Reading Latin and Greek isn't like reading the newspaper, it's more like solving a puzzle. And so while you are building language skills and building vocabulary skills, you're also learning how to analyze a really complex body of data and make sense out of it. Classics majors, one of the fun things about it is you get to become your own dictionary. A very high percentage of words in the English language come from Latin and Greek. And so not only do you master these 2 languages, but you also master the English language in understanding the vocabulary and also knowing how to communicate effectively in any language you choose. Classical studies is different from some similar majors. The Ancient Near Eastern Studies major covers some of the same material, but they focus primarily on the Bible and on Near Eastern culture and history. With classical studies, we read texts from the breadth of the ancient world, the ancient Mediterranean world. and instead of studying Greek and Hebrew, students will study Greek and Latin. It's also somewhat similar to English and comparative literature degrees, in that you read literature and learn some literary theory that you can use to analyze and interpret that literature. One of the main differences there is the emphasis on the languages, that we really focus in on learning the grammar and syntax of these languages and being able to pick the language apart and analyze it. There's also some overlap with a degree in anthropology or archaeology. Archaeologists use material culture as a window into the ancient world. For classical studies, we use the texts as a way of getting into the ancient world, but the destination is the same. One of the great things about classical studies is the tradition behind it. From the Renaissance until the early 1900s, studying Latin and ancient Greek was a big part of what it meant to be educated. And so you're part of a great tradition when you study classics. If you love language and literature and you want to learn how to analyze that better, then you should be a classical studies major. If you're interested in going to law school and taking along with you Cicero, Quintilian, and Demosthenes as your mentors, you should be a classical studies major. If you want to go to med school and really master the language of medicine while at the same time learning about the foundations of medicine in the Western tradition, then classical studies is the major for you. If you want to go into any career that's out there and really stand out as an applicant with something unique on your resume, and also go in there with strong analytic and language skills in both speaking and writing, then classical studies is the major for you.